Donald Trump is losing it as mass protests erupt across the United States. The video we showed you at the beginning there are mass protests in Minneapolis, about 10,000 people protesting the Trump regime after Donald Trump's ICE Gestapo, Donald Trump's ICE SS, Donald Trump's terrorists shot and killed Renee Nicole Good, a 37-year-old woman who was driving her car in South Minneapolis. They murdered her in cold blood. Then when a physician tried to administer emergency aid, the Trump Gestapo refused, making sure Renee Nicole Good would bleed out. The Trump terrorists then accused Renee Nicole Good of being a terrorist. They say that she engaged in domestic terrorism against Trump's weak, pathetic gang of terrorists who need to lie and defame the deceased who they just murdered. And the American people see it for what it is: cold-blooded murder by a pathetic authoritarian regime. Let us not mince words when we report about these vile terrorists leading our government. You know, I think about what's taking place in Venezuela right now, not the Trump propaganda where they tell you that the opposition party in Venezuela and all of the pro-democracy forces are out and about celebrating in Venezuela. That's not what's taking place right now. What's taking place right now is that Venezuela's paramilitary groups, referred to as colectivos, are on the street murdering people, looking through people's phones, engaged in a government-supported, serious shakedown, repression, clampdown, whatever you want to call it, on any dissent, looking through people's phones to see if there's any support for the opposition, and if so, rounding them up, killing them, disappearing people. The colectivos under Delcy Rodriguez's leadership, under Diosdado's leadership, the henchmen of Maduro. Maduro's regime is still in power, as Donald Trump wants, because Donald Trump believes that they're his puppets who will allow him to extract all of the natural resources from Venezuela, their oil, their rare earths, and anything else that Donald Trump wants for himself to enrich himself and his rich oligarch buds. What's going on in Venezuela are these colectivos are going around. Why I mentioned the colectivos and how I connected also to what's happening in the United States is that the ICE Gestapo, the Border Patrol Gestapo, these Nazis, these SS, these terrorists, call them what you want, but they are terrorists. I don't know how else to describe the behavior of individuals who go around like paramilitary groups and terrorize American citizens. That's the colectivos in Venezuela. Why do you think Donald Trump supports a Delcy Rodriguez, and why Trump shuns any pro-democracy groups that exist? Because Trump hates democracy. Trump supports authoritarians. And so for any Venezuelans who thought, aha, we were going to get peace and democracy, that's not what Donald Trump wants. Trump just wants to take your resources. Trump and the MAGA Republicans have been giving interview after interview saying that they are the predators. And as America is a predator country in the Western Hemisphere, the predators must dominate the hemisphere. They must invade Colombia next, and Cuba, and Greenland. And it doesn't stop there. That is what predators do. You've heard the Trump regime use that language. Predators, predators, predators. Yeah, Donald Trump is a lifelong predator. Donald Trump is a lifelong sexual predator. Donald Trump is a lifelong felon. Donald Trump is a lifelong fraud and a bankrupter. Donald Trump couldn't run his own casinos. He ran them into the ground. He's bankrupted company after company. So you think this guy's going to be able to run the Western Hemisphere? You think he'll be able to run Venezuela, a country of 28 million people? Because it seems while Donald Trump's out there making posts on social media, aha, we've taken 30 to 50 million barrels of oil from Venezuela. Venezuela agrees that they will only do business with the United States once our oil companies extract their oil. Take a look at what's going on there, because Iran and China and Russia seem to still have a pretty close relationship with Delcy Rodriguez, and the opposition leaders in the United States are saying just that as well, that Delcy in many ways is worse than Maduro. Diosdado is many ways worse than Maduro, and Trump has propped them up right now. But speaking of Donald Trump as a predator, we shouldn't neglect some other important news that took place yesterday. Before I get into it, just a reminder, hit subscribe, help the MeidasTouch Network get to 6 million subscribers. We're on our way to 6 million. You may think you're subscribed. Just double check that you're subscribed. And as you know, we've opened up our DC bureau, and you've been seeing the clips that Pablo Manriquez, who's joined the MeidasTouch Network, has been putting out there. We're trying to change the game in the way Capitol Hill is being reported on. Shout out to our DC bureau. If you want to support the growth of our network, go to MeidasPlus.com and subscribe as well. Sorry for that tangent. I thought it was important that I mentioned. But where I left off was, I was saying, speaking of predators like Donald Trump, there was big news yesterday that didn't go reported. I'm really proud that Democratic ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Robert Garcia, continues to not take his eye off the ball when it comes to the Epstein files and Donald Trump's criminal cover-up of the Epstein files. Trump and MAGA covering up a child sex trafficking ring. Here's what we learned yesterday. The House Oversight Committee ranking member, Robert Garcia, was able to secure subpoenas for Les Wexner, the billionaire businessman and longtime benefactor of Epstein, and Darren Indyke and Richard Kahn, the executors of Epstein's estate, who many of the Epstein survivors say that they hold a lot of the information because they were Epstein's accountants. As I've said before, there are probably tens of millions or even more records just of the finances based on Epstein's money laundering schemes and money laundering scams. Speaking of money laundering schemes and money laundering scams, as the United States, we've seen these mass protests. Here's what Donald Trump was posting about yesterday on his social media platform. While Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans have refused to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies and are forcing Americans to lose their health care because they view subsidies as a bad word, Donald Trump is recommending that the American taxpayer subsidize oil companies to the tune of potentially $100 billion to go into Venezuela. The Trump regime gave $40 billion to Argentina, and the Trump regime in Donald Trump's post is now saying they want the military budget for 2027 not to be $1 trillion, but to be $1.5 trillion. Here's what Trump writes. After long and difficult negotiations with senators, congressmen, secretaries, and other political representatives, I have determined that for the good of our country, especially in these very troubled and dangerous times, our military budget for the year 2027 should not be $1 trillion, but rather $1.5 trillion. This will allow us to build the dream military that we have long been entitled to. More importantly, that will keep us safe and secure regardless of foe. Donald Trump says we'll have all this money because of his tariffs. And then Donald Trump goes on to say that even with this $1.5 trillion, we'll be able to pay down our debt and give substantial dividends to moderate income patriots within our country. In other words, money laundering, fraud, financial schemes, what Donald Trump has done his entire life. He ain't giving dividends. He just says that in order to lead people along. He ain't paying down the debt. The debt is increasing. Our deficit is increasing. Our federal spending is through the roof. How about instead of the dream military, when our military spending is already multiples times any other country, what if we did the American dream? What if we made housing more affordable? What if we made groceries more affordable and everything more affordable? What about people who work an honest day's job or an honest day's work are able to afford things? How about that? How about the CEOs don't have tax shelters and buying private jets, but actually contribute their fair share the way Americans are doing? And how about Americans be able to afford, again, homes and not have to be psychologically tortured living paycheck to paycheck? But Donald Trump's priorities are help his billionaire friends, enrich himself, screw you over. That's what he wants to do. I talked about this yesterday, so I'll just touch on it here. When Donald Trump posted that Renee Nicole Good, the victim of Trump's ICE Gestapo terroristic murders, that they said that she was a domestic terrorist. Donald Trump writes that the ICE agent had to go to the hospital because he was hit by the car. We all saw the video. I'm not going to play the video again. You can go back. I've played it on a lot of other videos here on the MeidasTouch network. She didn't hit the guy with the car. The guy was on the side of her car. He shot through the window and shot her in the face. Trump's collectivos, Trump's paramilitary terrorists, shooting American citizens in the face as they invade our cities. 2,000 ICE agents invaded Minneapolis is what took place. And this is so tragic what happened to Renee Nicole Good. And then the Trump Gestapo didn't stop there. As Benjamin Ryan captured this video, then the ICE agents started shooting the protesters in the face with non-lethal, which are very dangerous and can kill. Don't let the name non-lethal trick you. Here, play this clip.
Get back! Get back! Get back! Let go! Kill someone else! Go for it! Kill someone
else! And then you had J.D. Vance wearing his heavy makeup, his heavy eyeliner. J.D. Vance is a weird dude, a weird, confused human being. I've done my J.D. Vance rants. I'm not going to do it here. But J.D. Vance and state regime media, what they talked about was Gavin Newsom crossing his legs. Here, play this clip.
Gavin Newsom obviously running for president. Have you seen this guy cross his legs? Have you ever seen anyone cross their legs like that?
My legs don't cross like that, Jesse. I'll leave. You can interpret that however you want to.
Then J.D. Vance and state regime talk about Somalian people and say America's got a Somali problem. No, America has a Trump J.D. Vance terrorist problem. Y'all are the war criminals and terrorists. Here, play this clip.
The Democrats have a little bit of a Somali problem. They've let it
America
go.
has a bit of a Somali problem.
Especially the Democrats in Minnesota.
Then Jesse Waters and J.D. Vance talk about, oh, why are you saying Donald Trump is so greedy? It's not like Donald Trump's making any money or taking things for himself. Here, play this clip.
I think it's interesting. The Democrats call the president greedy, but in what sense has any of this enriched him or enriched the administration? It's enriched the American people, which is what you want out of an American president. Somebody who's thinking to themselves, how do I serve the American people's best interest? How do I go and accomplish good things for the American people? That's a good thing to have in an American president. You want somebody who's greedy for the American people. The Democrats are greedy for themselves.
Now, our DC bureau and Pablo Manriquez, who's joined the MeidasTouch network, was able to speak with AOC. Here's what she said. Play this clip.
What we saw today was a criminal murder a woman and shoot her in the head while she was trying to escape and flee for her life. And I think what we saw today was a manifestation of every American's worst nightmare, which is their government turning into a tyranny.
Do you believe he should be arrested, the officer involved?
I think what we saw was a murder today, and I think that we need, of course.
And here's what Minnesota Senator Tina Smith had to say. I think she speaks for us all here when she says, can these people just get the F out? Get the F out. Here, play this clip.
I think the Trump administration is so fixated on Minnesota right now.
Well, I wish I knew. I mean, I wish they would just leave us the fuck alone. I mean, seriously. What is when do things stop being about politics and start being about actual human decency? And so, I mean, I'm sure we can all hypothesize on what all of their political reasons are. But meanwhile, a woman died being shot in her car. And everything that they're doing is making it worse and not better. Thank you all.
Well, there you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.